Stay out of Medellin. It is not safe. If you're buying pussy, if you're a passport bro,
being a Black woman, there's safety issues you have to think about. There could be racial issues you have to think about.
I'm here in Medellin, and I know all the girls want to know what's the process of living abroad, what it's like living abroad, especially as a Black woman. I have a special friend here. Her name is Royal, and I'm going to introduce y'all to her.
I guess you can call me an expat. I've been living in Colombia for about 8 years now. Also, I've decided to become an entrepreneur, and so I launched my company, Yup, She Travels.
Yep.
And it's basically a travel company that empowers Black women to get to know the world.
What's the biggest hesitance that you find Black women are concerned about when it comes to moving abroad, and specifically here in Colombia?
Being a Black woman, there's safety issues you have to think about. There could be racial issues you have to think about. And so I think the hesitancy is leaving your comfort zone to go to another place and not knowing if you're going to be welcomed or not.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that is a really big risk for some people. But then once they start doing some research online, or they know somebody that knows somebody, they end up coming across Black women that have done it. And usually we're able to kind of help bring them in, introduce people to different groups like on Facebook, WhatsApp, and where you can get a lot of those questions answered about housing situations, about safety, etc. And I feel like now moving abroad is kind of coming a part of like the second great migration.
Yeah.
And so you've had
stay out of Medellin. It is not safe. If you're buying pussy, if you're a passport bro,
I didn't think I'd be making a second video about this woman, but I thought about, the fact that she's an expat. She's living in living in Colombia, and I'm just shooting right now. Yeah, I thought about the fact that she's an expat. She's living her best life for the last 8 years in Colombia, and I was offended when she made that TikTok video talking about lecturing men that are traveling over there from our own ethnic group. And what was pointed for me to make the video, the first video, was that she was very vulgar. Okay, she said, it's relatively safe over there unless you're buying pussy. Okay, it's always jarring to hear a woman say that, in a certain setting. And it's always jarring to hear a woman use blue language. Despite the fact that I've been around, that this is my nearly 55 years of life. I've heard many women use blue language and do the most insane things that I wouldn't even bother bringing up and shit because I'd be getting a strike from YouTube. Yeah, when she said that, it's safe over here unless you're buying pussy and shit, and then you kind of got the gist that she was just like another bitter, broad that, didn't fit in anywhere, shit, and she put her she took her ball and went to another country and shit, but, she's been living there for 8 years, but, it's not okay for guys to, travel and shit, it's not okay for them to travel for whatever reason. It's got nothing to do with her. It's none of her fucking business, and we don't know what she was doing over there when she went. I'm pretty sure she hasn't just been living a solitary life. We always see these women, the passive aggressive women trying to lecture us and tell us how to move in other countries and shit, but they get in trouble. She didn't have any videos about the one black gay woman, the lesbian, that was over in South Asia and destroyed a salon. People that were helping her out when she didn't have a pot to piss in or a roof over her head. They let her live there and work in the salon, and they wanted, their rent money and shit, and she trashed the place. And if it wasn't for them, she wouldn't have had a place to live. But they never have anything to say about themselves, their sorority, when they engage in egregious acts over there. And they got themselves unalived. I think like Gambia or whatever, Like, what are you doing over there? And we've seen black women behaving badly overseas in like places like Italy. I do recall. They're always real self-conscious and passive-aggressive. They don't know how to pack away their issues when they travel abroad. But you have the nerve and the temerity to, talk about, the 8 men that were killed over there, that were killed in Colombia. For whatever reason, we don't know. Okay, but it's none of her fucking business, nor her concern and shit. I'll point that out to you because I did pull down a video from a social media to complete my other video. And it was a video of her basically selling the expat lifestyle to other black women and shit. And I noticed that she didn't say black people. Okay, she was just talking to black women specifically. Not black men, not black women, not as a collective. Okay? And that's the way it's always been. And a lot of us we were raised a certain way where we don't even notice it. That they call it low boiling, low level of contempt. It's not low at all. It's right in your face, but you don't realize it because you were raised a certain way. All right, this is why they talk to us the way they do, why they behave in this manner, and there's no change in sight and shit. So you have to make do. All right, you have to save yourself, because if you try to save them, you pick them up and run out of a burning building and shit, and you realize you got a knife in your back. What are you gonna do now? All right, they have precedence over you. They have legal precedence over you. They're middle management of, white supremacy and shit. I don't say this with a heavy heart, and nor do you hear me making that disclaimer, not all and all that bullshit, because any woman that's listening to my voice right now that knows she didn't do that shit and should not be fucking offended and shit. And they don't have any checks and balances for themselves. Right? They don't know how to govern themselves as an ethnic group along the female gender side of the gender line. But they always have something to say. They always have that sense of ownership. It's not just a low level of contempt that follows you from your childhood to your adulthood and to the old age. It makes me sick, man. I'm disgusted with the nature of it. And that's why I kept these clips, to present them to you. Okay? They don't think about us first. They think about themselves. They see themselves as a separate ethnic group, devoid of men. Right? It's disgusting. Their behavior is egregious and disgusting in light of all that we have lost since the death of our leaders in the late 60s, early 70s and whatnot. All we've had is carpetbaggers. And when it was a man, they were middle management of that shit. They were very diligent in doing their work and getting in the bag and all that bullshit. And they always talk about how they starting the most businesses and all that bullshit. And I just don't have a reaction. I have a static, dead eye stare to that boast, to those made up stats and shit. Because, if you really are a black woman and give a shit about your ethnicity, your group and shit, then your community would not look like that, since you are the steward of it and the first teacher of the child. It should be a pristine utopia, but it isn't. The charnel house of ignorance, self-hate, and just like adult children who never mature. Okay? A long time ago I was watching a goddamn that's one of those Thor movies from Disney, like the MCU. And I was watching like the Thor Ragnarok and shit. And I'm like watching this shit, right? You see Jeff Goldblum walking, and doing this character or whatever. You see these two assholes walking. And like they're talking about a revolt or something. And it's like a female, it's like a big fat ass female, like a Polynesian woman. She says, yeah, the slaves are revolting. And Jeff Goldblum says, I don't like that word. Don't use that word. She's like, what word? The N word. And then he catches himself. He said the N word. You know what that means, right? I ain't shitting on Jeff Goldblum. She's from a certain ethnic group, and he has a complexion for protection and shit. But I just want to show you like how people see us and shit, and you were the stewards of our fucking community and shit. And look at the nonsense that's going on though. Look at this bullshit, But I feel like you females are coming off an assembly line. A fucked up assembly line. It's like a goddamn, I don't know, like a Tim Burton movie and shit off the rails and shit. Blackface. that you guys are getting worse every generation. Okay, it's getting so bad now that even Pookie and Ray and Tyrone and Man, they can see it. Okay, these are lieutenants of your situation down here in the slave quarters. It's a shame. It's a shame. That's why I have this clip. I want you to see this woman, this expat, this learned, educated woman who's been living her best life, learned the language, and learned the lay of the land, learn how to move about freely without assistance, without an app on her phone to communicate with people. And she uses vulgar blue language. She says it's safe down here unless you're behind pussy. Shit, she said herself she has a pussy, between her legs. That's her hole that nobody probably wants. She sounds like bitter and frustrated that, I guess nobody picked her tab or nothing. Basically, she probably got her cheeks clapped by some middleman, some low value man that in that country and shit. She's just angry that everywhere she goes, she's still at the bottom of the barrel and shit. Why the fuck she went to Colombia? That she don't have the same mindset as those people over there. But she shoehorned her own ass in there, and that she would deny you the right to travel abroad and do what you must. Okay? Find out who you are. Find your destiny, or just engage in prurient activities. Have sex with, hot women over there that may or may not be prostitutes. It's none of her business. Whether you were doing it or not, it doesn't change her fucking bottom line. But she had to run her mouth. And then when I included the clip from the gram that I pulled down, you hear her selling her lifestyle to other black women and shit. And I'm a very cringe video. And it's telling, because at no time does she say black people. She only says black women. That's all she cares about. It's the only thing she can see, and it's the reason I can't take it serious, and I drug her fucking ass and shit, okay? I drug her, I'm dragging her right now. I think you are a piece of shit, and you should reflect on that, okay? Because it's what has destroyed our people. With you, right? You were once the divine feminine, but now you're just a whore of Babylon, okay? And it's not do as I say, not as I do. What we tell you women, okay? Well, we're gonna tell you straight up. No, if you don't know your role, you don't belong in our house, wherever we choose to build it.
The Black Patriarchy. A non-existent group of fictional black male power brokers not discredited, erroneously jailed or outright killed by the minority majority who look the other way as they work tirelessly to shame, oppress, and outright take out the altruistic black female populace of the honorable democratic United States of America. 3K's inset bitches. These evil wealthy members of the black patriarchy are the sole reason for all the ills of the black community, walking, talking, holding down jobs, and doing everything up to and including giving their very lives in service to their baby mamas and baby's motherfucking kids. Their motto that strikes fear into the hearts of black women everywhere: bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks.